Good morning, everybody. My name is Richard Strong, and I work for IBM. I've worked for IBM since 2004. Previously to that, I worked for Candle for 8 years. So today's session, I'm going to do a quick presentation on Configuration Manager, the new installation tool for OMEGAMON, and then I'm going to do a demo and show you how you can go through and install OMEGAMON in less than 30 minutes. So a bit of an introduction. As I said, my name is Richard Strong. The product owner for this product is Matthias Schaffler. He's helped me put this presentation together today, and he's doing another presentation in a European GSE today as well. Matthias works for Rocket, and Rocket developed the Configuration Manager. So quick agenda, we're going to have a look at the value proposition of the Configuration Manager, and then a quick overview of it. A quick look at the architecture, and then we're going to have a look at the job. So Configuration Manager runs with just one job to do all the processes. So we'll have a quick look at that as well, and then we'll do a demo. So the presentation is going to be very short, 15 minutes, and then we'll have a half-an-hour demo of doing the installation. Value proposition, it's ease of use. So I've worked with installing OMEGAMON for over 25 years. I started with Candle's installation configuration assistant tool, KiCat. I then moved on to iCat, and then in around about 2007, something like that, we brought out PalmGen because customers were complaining that KiCat and iCat were too complicated to use. And PalmGen was great, but it got really complicated because there was updates to it all the time. And in the end, it was taking so long to do an installation. So, for example, we've had some customers to say that it was taking 10 days to do an installation of OMEGAMON. And I can attest to that as well. And I worked with it, and it did take a long time. So they brought out a Configuration Manager, and the ease of use of it is very easy to use. It reduces a lot of manual effort, provides most of the common settings out of the box. And you can get systems up and running, in 15 minutes into 30 minutes, for example. I used a Configuration Manager for the first time 2 years ago at a very large customer, and it was one of the first customers to use Installation Manager. So there was a couple of bugs which we ironed out, and I think it took us a day to get the system installed initially, but by the end of the process, we were rolling out OMEGAMONs to LPARs in 15 minutes, and that was all the OMEGAMONs: networks, mainframe, network storage, ZOS, KICS, DB2. So all the OMEGAMONs were being rolled out to different LPARs within 15 minutes. It's very quick to do. We've made some improvements. There's a 90% CPU improvement. So the jobs take a lot quicker to run, and we'll see that when I do some of the installation later. So it's a new way of installing the OMEGAMON agents. It provides an alternative to using the PalmGen ISPF dialogues. It's a batch-only process, so there's 3 jobs you need to run: create, discover, and generate. They're the 3 jobs that you run, and after those 3 jobs have run, the OMEGAMONs will be installed and ready to use. It uses a very sparse runtime environment parameter specification, so sometimes you don't have to specify anything. It will go and discover all the parameters, and you can override those parameters as well if necessary. And there's a new data set that's been created called the RTE-DEF dataset, and this just holds information about your installation parameters. All the other data sets that PalmGen uses are still there. We still use those data sets. So, for example, the wconfig data set that PalmGen uses, that's still there. And you can migrate from PalmGen to Configuration Manager, and it will bring all your parameters across for you. So it's been delivered in different stages. So the base support was for IBM Z Monitoring Suite customers only, and that came out in 2020, July 2020. And then there was the PalmGen migration support. You can see the APARs that came out with that. That was in November 2020. And then standalone with Unicom version 550 support, that came out in December 2020. So that was for the 550 products. And it was just shortly after that, that's when I did my first install of all the 550 products with Configuration Manager. And then we had some extra options. So to begin with, there was only 4 options you could do with the job. And that was, sorry, 5 options you could do: the create, generate, discover jobs. You've got the migrate to migrate from PalmGen, and you've got the delete to delete a runtime environment. And then a PTF came out, UJ06499, which brought in the package and deploy actions. And what that does is you can run a job and it will create 5 data sets with a DFSMS to package all the runtime data sets, which can then be easily transportable to another LPAR, and then you run the deploy to unpackage them. And there's a little bit of suggested maintenance as well. So if you're currently reusing Configuration Manager, we'd suggest you check on these APARs, make sure they're installed to make installation a lot easier. So this is the architecture. So basically, it's one main job. So you've got the RTE master provisioning workflow. You run that. The program is KFJ Omega. Then we also got a different job called KCI Alpha, and this is a APF authorized member. So you need to run this in an APF authorized library. And this will go out and discover a bit more information when you run the discover job. So this goes out and finds network stacks, and it'll go and find some IMS subsystem information and things like that. So it does a little bit more work under the covers to discover more attributes for you. The output from this is the runtime environment data sets, and also it creates some started task JCLs and VTEM definitions. So we also create 3 different data sets that hold all the started tasks information, the VTEM list definitions and the VTEM lib definitions as well. So this is the job. As we say, all tasks are handled by one simple piece of JCL. So whereas PalmGen, you've got multiple sets of JCL that you have to go into and run and select from the ISPF panels, there's just one piece of JCL, and you have a parameter which you update to say that you want to either create, discover, or generate, and that's the steps you go through to create your runtime environment for the first time. And then you've got your delete option if you want to clean up after yourself. You've got migrate to migrate a PalmGen to Configuration Manager. And then, as I said before, we've got the package and deploy as well. So this is how you can package up your environment and send it to a different LPAR, then run the deploy on that system to unload it. And the only parameters you supply are the runtime environment name and the high-level qualifier for your data sets. And we can see here that all tasks are handled by one simple piece of JCL. You run the create, which creates a parameter deck, the RTE def. You update this to tell it what OMEGAMONs you want to install, and there's a couple of parameters you have to supply, for example, high-level qualifiers, some USS directories and things like that. You then run the discover, and this goes out and discovers all your subsystems. So it'll go out and find all your kick systems that are specified on your LPAR, all your DB2 systems, and it'll go out and find the DB2 dataset names and versions of DB2. It'll go and find your network stacks. It'll find all your MQ systems. So it does a lot of the work. It's a bit like the discovery job that you can run in PalmGen, but it's a lot quicker. And then you run the generate, and this creates all your runtime libraries then under the covers. And we talked a little bit about the RTE def data set and what we create in there. So what happens is in the RTE def data set, you'll have a member, which is the name of your RTE name, your runtime environment name, which specifies which OMEGAMONs you're going to install, for example. And then there'll be a parameter for each of the products as well. And it'll also create a parameter on discovery with the LPAR name. So you can use this RTEDEF across LPARs in the Sysplex to store all your information in one place. Okay, so as a quick overview, and I think we'll get some more help from the demonstration. So let me just open up my system. Okay, so Anna, can you see ISPF?
I can. It looks lovely.
Good. All right. Okay, so the configuration manager. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from scratch and create a runtime environment, and then I'm going to go and discover all our systems on our LPAR, and then I'm going to run the generate step as well. And I'm also I know one of the jobs is going to fail. I want it to fail because I want to show you how you can debug any information quite quickly with Configuration Manager when a job fails. So the job is in the TCAN SAM library, the SMP target library for OMEGAMON. And if we go and edit this. And the job is KFJJMCM. So this is the Configuration Manager job. So I've updated this with my job card. And we can see if we scroll down. We're using KCI Omega program. So this is the standard one. You can see that for package and deploy actions, and also for discovery, you should use KCI Alpha. And if you use KCI Alpha, then that means that the TCAN mod library needs to be APF authorized, which I've already done on this system. And we can see here we've got the different actions we can choose. So I'm going to start off with a create step. I'm going to call my runtime environments GSE, and my high-level qualifiers my user ID.inst. And some more actions down here that you can put in if you want. So there's if you're going to do a migrate, then you have to specify your PalmGen wconfig library down here. And there's also some confirmation here. So this default confirmation is no, and that's just for the delete and migrate action. So it's ignored by everything else. And there's a few other parameters you can specify for the package and deploy, for example. They're all documented in the Configuration Manager user guide. So I'm going to submit this job, and what it's going to do is going to create a library called rstro.inst.gsc with security exits and the RTDEF dataset. And it runs very quick. By the time I split my screen, it should have finished. There we go. Finished with the condition code 0. And I'm going to just go into 3.4 and have a look at these data sets. So what we can see here is it's created 2 data sets. Unlike PalmGen, all the security exits within PalmGen were in the sample library. We've moved all the security exits to a separate library, so that can be RACF secured, so that only people that are allowed to have a look at security exits can view the library. And you can see here's all the security exits, the RACF, the ACF2 ones, for each of the different products if you want to install security exits. So if we go into the RTDEF, we can see that we've got a global parameter member, and this is global palms related to the LPAR. We can see that we've got a global target high-level qualifier. So this is pick this up. This is the high-level qualifier of the SMP libraries that we're going to be using. It puts in an HSF Java directory and a TCAN jar path. So these are USS files that it's picked up. It's worth checking to see if these are correct. Otherwise, the installation job will fail later on. And what we're interested in is the GSE member. This is our runtime environment member that we've created. And we can see here we've got the runtime name here, which is GSE, and then the high-level qualifier. And if we're going to specify any security for logon. When I do an installation for the first time, I always disable security until I know that OMEGAMON's working, and then you can come back and enable it later. It's very quick to do this. You can You can specify your security logon of RACF, come back in here and just run the generate again, and that will activate security for you. Then you got the Thames node ID, so it's picked this up from my runtime environment name, your communication protocol, and it's picked up the host name as well from running the job. It gives the default port number, and you got your Apple ID prefixes. So this is the VTAM definitions for all the Apple IDs. So this can be changed if you want, and your start a task prefix. So these are the things you can change for the first time, and your USS directory as well. So it's picked up a default. So some of these you want to check, but then we can go further down here. And if I scroll down from here, I can see this is the products that are all supported with Configuration Manager, and these are the products I can install as well. So I'm just going to select, I'm going to have a Thames. I'm going to select the Enhanced Edge 270. I'm not going to have a transaction gateway. Turn that off. I'm not going to do DB2. I'm just going to do a small section. So I'm going to do ZOS as well, and we'll get rid of everything else. So we're just selecting 3 products here. We're doing ZOS, we're doing KixTS and Enhanced Edge 270. And of course, we're having the Thames as well, because you need a Thames to run the product. So we've configured the RTDEF, and we've said which products we want to install. So this is like going into PalmGen. You do the setup in PalmGen, and you'd select the products there as well, and then you come back, and then you'd go and run you have to go through all the parameters now, and that was the long thing with PalmGen, going through the parameter file. If you select all the products, you're going to have over 10,000 lines of code to browse to check that all the parameters are valid. But we're just going to stay with the defaults in this case, and we've updated that, and now we want to run the discover job. And discover, and we change our job to KCI Alpha as well. And let's submit this. So this is going out and it's discovering everything on our system. It works very quickly. So if we have a look at the job. KCI print. We can see that it's gone out and it's found 2 DB2 subsystems. So it goes out and discovers everything, even though you're not installing it. And it uses that install when it goes to the generator to generate all the data sets. But it goes out and discovers everything. So you can see it's discovered 2 DB2 subsystems, a queue manager, and then all the KIX regions, any IMS regions, and it's found out TCP/IP stacks. And then it writes some results to the RTDEF as well. So it writes this information to your RTDEF. So it's you can see it's worked really quickly to discover all that information. And if we go back and have a look at RTDEF now, option 3.4. Browse. So you've got some more members in here. So the KIX one, so it goes out and discovers all of our KIX systems. And basically what it's doing here, this is going to be used by the product to create some VSAM files for each of your KIX subsystems for you to enable transaction history if necessary. So these are VSAM history files that we call it ONDV if you're familiar with OMEGAMON KIX, and that's what that uses to store the historical information. It also creates a system parameter thing for your LPAR, and this just shows you system symbols that are used, and it's gone out and discovered all those and provides you with the system symbols. So now we're happy with that. We can change this back to KCI Omega. The case. And we're going to go and do a generate now. So now we want to go and create all our data sets that we're going to be using for the products. So we can submit this. So this is the same as running the parses job and the parses job and all the jobs afterwards in PalmGen. So for example, you're gonna parses job used to take 15 minutes, half an hour to run. It was such a long job to run. I know in some cases it took even longer. And then you'd have the the 11 or 12 jobs that you'd run individually afterwards, to copy data from your SMP libraries, to update USS directories, to create security exits. This does everything for you. And you see it runs really quickly as well. And I did say my job was going to fail at some point. So here we can see that we've got a condition code 8. So I know in PalmGen, again, there was many steps that you had to go through to find out what was causing the problem. And we'll have a look at the output from our job here. I select this and just have a look at KCI print. So we don't need to look at all the other DD statements, but KCI print holds the information. And we can see here that it's been using my parameters out of these libraries, just selecting the information for the TEMS, the global information, and the KICS agent. And it's saying that IBM Z Monitoring Configuration Manager is about to configure 4 agents. But it's actually failed because it can't find my CSF dataset. So it's actually done some checking and found that I can't find that. So that means that I've put a parameter in incorrectly somewhere, or it's not generated the right parameter. So I need to go back to my RTEDEF. Let's create some of the data sets. That's GS. It's just RTEDEF. Sorry. Look at here, and in the global Palm, I can see that it's got my cryptographic module as that, and I know on this system that I need to insert a character, and it's actually ICSF. So I've hopefully fixed the issue, and we just need to go and submit this job again. And then it's going out and it's creating all the data sets. So if we have a quick look at all our data sets it's creating, we can see that these are the ONDV task history data sets for each KICS. So we've got one for each KICS system, VSAM data sets. We can see that it's creating some general history data sets for history for the TEMS. We can see all the runtime libraries that it needs to use. See that it's finished quite quickly as well. And then we've got all the RKDS ones, which are the TEMS database files. So it's creating all those. And we should have some MVS, OMEGAMON ZOS, I should say, data sets that it uses, and then some user libraries. And it also creates these libraries here. So these are the proclib libraries, the VTAM lib and the VTAM list. So this is a list of all the extra data sets that need to be copied to your system libraries. So you've done the generate, that's created everything now. The last steps are to copy all these libraries to your, all these members to your system libraries. So if we have a quick look at sys1 proclib, we can see that this is the list of the procs it creates. So it creates a proc that you can execute to APF the required libraries. You've got your candle subsystem procedure that should be started first, and then you've got your KICS agent, and then we've got the TEMS started task, and then you've got the ZOS CSA analyzer started task, the ZOS real-time collector, which is the classic OMEGAMON if you ever use that. And then you've got the Kix Classic as well. So there's a classic for the Kix and a classic for the ZOS as well. And then if you're using persistent data stores type 1, it creates a proc for you, which will manage your persistent data stores type 1. We did have a change that came in a few years back to support persistent data stores type 2. And if you use those, they manage themselves and they just roll around. There's 7 that it uses. And at midnight at each day, it will switch to the next one if it's not full, or it will just overwrite if it fills up. And then we have a started task called OMEGAStop. This will stop all your procedures for you, and if you execute it, and you've got the OMEGAStart, which will start all your procedures for you. There's a quick way of starting and stopping all your OMEGAMONs. And then you've got the TOM address space, which is the enhanced 3270. And we can see we have vtamlib definition, which is just only one that needs to be copied to vtamlib, and then your vtamlist definitions. This is all your Apple IDs, so these should all be copied to vtamlist as well. So once the RACF definitions are in place for your started tasks, and you've copied all your definitions over, you can start the procedures. So the ZOS agent runs within the hub TEMS or a remote TEMS if you're running a remote TEMS on your LPAR. So you didn't see a started task for that. And then the OMEGAMON Kix, you just have to update the CSD file to give it the OMEG transaction details, and you'd be ready to go. So, you know, compared to PalmGen, which would take ages and ages, and you'd constantly be going back to fix errors, especially if you've messed up the parameters or you typed a parameter incorrectly. It's hard to use. This is so much easier. I have so many customers that like Configuration Manager, and we can see it's a lot quicker. So have a look at the outputs. We can see this is the output. And have a quick look at KCI print, which should just tell us that everything works successfully. It's configured 4 agents and it's completed successfully. And we can see that this actually only took 11:57, 35 seconds to run. So compared to PalmGen, you know, there was some pre-processing that each job would do, and that could take 30 seconds. So we've significantly reduced the amount of time it takes to install OMEGAMON. And if I'd have included all the products, it would probably have only taken an extra 15 seconds or something like that. It's very quick. Let's look. Now, if we have a look at, so we do still create wconfig. So this is what PalmGen uses, and we do still use all the parameters. So if we have a look at find GSE, we'll see a runtime environment for wconfig GSE, and this is the old parameter deck. So this is still there, and we still use this. We can see that it's 2,888 lines long, so it's quite a big deck of parameters, but it's been updated with all our, gone out and discovered everything that we need. And if you want to change any of these, you can copy the actual parameter into the Kix member in RTE-def. So if, for example, you want to increase a storage limit or something like that, you could copy this parameter and put it into your RTE-def Kix member, and it would pick it up from there then and start using that parameter. So do we have any questions at all, Anna?
Yes, we do. We had some pop up in the chat. So I held them back till after the demo. Let's see if I got the beginning here. Yes. So a question for Richard, which he may address later, which was from JD. How does Configuration Manager work help to deploy OMEGAMON across multiple sysplexes? Hold on, I'll come with them all. I can unmute these guys too so that they can converse on the question. And then from Aurora, Richard, I'm going a bit ahead of where you are at in the presentation, and you may answer it further up. The variable prefix in the member, is it the system prefix or is it a fixed value? For example, KD2, I've no idea what I'm saying here, underscore classic underscore DB2ID underscore default. And then the discover job, this is from Stuart Evans. Does it pull the information from active tasks or what is defined in Palmlib? And then K Sakin, Suresh, sorry about the pronunciation. How are embeds handled in Configuration Manager when compared to PalmGen? So I'm now going to allow those people to unmute so that they can explain much better than I read out their questions. Stuart. I've lost somebody. Stuart Evans. Or maybe I did them all. JD, there he is. Okay, so I've said that all of those can unmute. Hopefully they can. Let's start with I think was Aurora's the first question or JD's? Hang on a second. Sorry, I've got a lot of other things in the chat here. JD was the first. So if JD, if you would like to better ask your question, then I read it out. Doesn't look like he was able to unmute. Okay, I'll allow everybody to unmute.
Yeah, this works, Hannah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, JD, sorry, had to drop off. Can you hear me? Sorry.
JD is still in my list.
Yeah, he had another meeting with IBM there, so he had to drop off at 11 o'clock. He must have closed it out.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically the question is like with PalmGen, we normally use one system and we configure every system across multiple sysplexes. And again, it's a long process. So we're just wondering how can we use this configuration manager when it comes to multiple sysplexes? Do you run it on each sysplex or can you use it in a way that you have one driving sysplex and then
yes,
no,
I had a customer that we deployed it across 7 different customers. So there's multiple sysplexes, and basically they transports the SMP libraries because by default Configuration Manager builds the runtime environment and uses the SMP libraries as the runtime libraries. So it's so basically you transport the SMP libraries to your zone, the LPAR that you want to configure it, and then just run the generate and discover on those LPARs.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Aurora?
Yeah. First of all, hello, Mrs. Strong.
Hi, Aurora. How are you?
I'm good. No, I'm not good. I've got a stinking cold. No, but long time no speak. I wanted to ask you if you could please open one of the parameter members so that I can show you what my question is.
Okay. Which parameter member?
Any, really. So say you've done kicks, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So because I actually copied my parameter from the DB2 manual, but it would be the same. The 01, yeah, please, anyone. Yeah, so in my, excuse me, we have a multi LPAR environment, and our configuration is done centrally in one, let's say, LPAR, where it's then deployed to all the rest of the systems. And I can see that my parameters before the KC2 underscore HSO1 parameter or HSO2 or whatever, I have what could be a subsystem ID. Is that right? Is that what happens when you have multi configuration environments?
Not for the parameter. The parameter won't have a subsystem ID. The value might have a subsystem ID.
No, I meant, I'm trying to open, maybe if you can go to the next question, Anna, and I'll open my member because I have to go to another laptop. I'll try and open my member and then I can get back to Richard with the question precisely because it's been bugging me, let's say.
Okay.
Okay, Aurora.
Thanks. I'll get back at the end.
The next question came from Stuart Evans.
Oh, hi. Yeah, it's just on the Discover job and how that works. Where does it pull in the information of what tasks are active? And is it what's running or does it what's in PalmLib?
It's what's in PalmLib. So
Okay.
we haven't got all these kick systems running on our system at the moment. We've only got about four or five kick systems, but it's gone out and discovered all the ones that are specified.
Right. Okay. So if you've got any redundant definitions in there, it'll pull those in.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And then Sachin Suresh, sorry, if you'd like to repeat out your question.
Sachin,
You should be able.
Sachin,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was not able to unmute. Hi. Yeah.
Hello, Sachin.
Yeah, hi. So my question was like, how are the embeds handled, especially when you are doing a migrate? Because do we need to, I know there is a keyword where you have to specify for creating an embeds data set, but do we need to do that? Like if you use a migrate instead of a create?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that for you, Sachin, because I'm not familiar with embedded data sets.
Okay.
But I can follow that up with you afterwards.
Sure.
If I can get your email address, and we'll talk afterwards.
Sure, that's great. Thank you.
And then Drazen Zadro had a question too. He asked, are there some linked list and XCFAS held members eventually disrupting generate process?
I've not come across anything that disrupts the generate process.
So currently, if I have in parallel sysplex runtime environments, I have some members in linked list and held by XCFAS, and I need to put them down before the maintenance. So is this the case currently with Configuration Manager, or I don't need to worry about that?
I've not come across that problem at all, Drazen,
Okay.
so I don't believe it's a problem.
Maybe it's our site specific.
Okay.
I'll pay attention. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Those are all the questions we've had in the chat.
I've got to my question if you want, Anna. I can answer. Thank you. So Richard, I've opened a member which is called KD5 and then our list name, because we have, as I said, a central configuration manager location. And yeah, so I got confused. I can see that you've got KD2 underscore DB01 underscore and then rest of the parameter name. Is that DB01 a fixed value? Because I will explain, we actually have stupidly named DB2s, which are called DB01, DB02, DB11, DB12,
Okay.
right? So I was getting confused and I wanted to know, can I change that DB01, or is that a part of the parameter name and it's fixed?
That's part of the parameter name and it's fixed. And basically it's just a configuration for database 1, and then you'd have configuration for database 2, and so
Okay.
on.
Okay, so even if my DB2 is called DBA1, it will still be DB01 if it's a 2-member data sharing thing, right?
Yes, can you see on my screen? So I've got
Yeah.
DB01 here, and then the DB2 ID is DBB1.
Okay, that's fine. All
Yeah,
good.
so that doesn't relate to the database name at all, the DB01. It's just the configuration for database 1.
Okay, and if I had 10 members, then I would have DB10 underscore DB2 underscore subsystem ID or something, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Richard.
You're welcome.
And love to all the family. I'll mute myself again.
Thanks, Aurora. Okay, Emma.
Hi. So was there more presentation or more demo, or are we
Let
in
me
Q&A now completely?
just Q&A. Let me just share the last screen. I think we need to share that, don't we, for
For the old feedback?
yes.
Okay. So everybody who wants to can unmute themselves if you have any questions for Richard. Anything that's just popped into your head. Oh, yes, Kev Senior. Should we use this for maintenance upgrades as well as initial RTE setup? Would we just always regen each RTE against the new OMEGAMON code base?
Yes, so that's the step for maintenance. So once maintenance is applied, unless it tells you to update a parameter, which you shouldn't do, you just need to run the generate. So there'll be there may be a hold action to tell you to do something else, but in most cases, you just need to run generate after you've applied maintenance.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
What's the migrate process like, migrating from PalmGen? Is that straightforward?
It's very straightforward. You just specify the PalmGen wconfig member, and then it creates everything for you. So it's very straightforward.
Okay, and is that all you do? You just do a migrate? You don't do a discover, or do you do a discover as well?
You do the migrate, which is basically the create, and you can run the discovery if you want to, but then you just need to run the generate after you've done the migrate.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. If you want to leave, you can leave. If you want to stay and have a conversation, you can stay and have a conversation. Please remember the feedback 3N. You can click on your bring your own agenda link, or I did put one in the chat. I suppose I should do that again. Okay, that's not going to work because I put something else on my clipboard. Give me a moment. And I will get that back. So you could also click on the feedback link here in the chat. But appreciate your feedback. It does help us to plan for next year. So if you want Richard back, say so.